This Beef Market Update podcast is brought to you by Brett Young. You treat them like family, feed them like family. Talk to your retailer about Brett Young's forage and corn options for a happy, healthy herd or visit brettyoung.ca.
Let's talk beef markets for the Beef Market Update with Wasko with the Gateway Livestock Exchange, and it is great to chat with you.
Good day, Sean. Good day.
Hey, how was CattleCon?
Hey, it was good. I mean, they're always good. There's always lots going on. There's so many people, whether it's the trade show, the meetings, the inspirational speakers, there's just so much. And of course, with everything going on right now, it was very full couple of days.
Yeah, I was riddled with jealousy. My container was full of jealousy.
I don't think anybody cares.
I know. But Lindsay made me feel better that I was missed. And then I said, by who? And she sort of had trouble filling in the gaps there. But
yeah,
all of our CattleCon NCBA coverage can be found at RealAgriculture.com. Make sure you subscribe to our cattle email by going to RealAgriculture.com/subscribe. Okay, and let's get a bit of an update here on what's going on in the cash markets this week.
Well, this was one of them weeks. U.S. markets faltered. They were off $2 to $3 in the south. Texas, Kansas, 202, 203 earlier in the week, but mostly 202 here late. In the north, Nebraska region, 203 live. They were 320 to 321 delivered dress. So compared to the previous week, Sean, that's $7 to $8 lower. So 2 weeks ago, kind of making the high, and we've settled off this week. We've seen packers cut kills, not all that surprising for this time of year, but that certainly has slowed down the production rate. It wasn't enough to keep that cutout supported. The choice cutout this week lost $6.50. 317.40 is where it closed at last night, and the select is back about $7.50, which is pretty typical for February. Now, going to Alberta, we did hold the fat cattle market steady in Alberta this week, 460 delivered draft. So that was a good sign. We've narrowed that basis. It's still a weak basis, but January and the first part of February was very much in the -$30, -$25 area. So we've narrowed that up. So that's good. The other piece I wanted to just mention, we've had carcass weights, and this is a little bit different than the U.S. The Canadian steer carcass weight has been running below early 24 is pretty substantially. So last week's weight, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about, was on the steers was 941 pounds dressed. That's down 42 pounds from the same week a year ago. So two things. Last year, we came into 24 behind in our marketings. We weren't current, and we struggled with it all through that first quarter of 24. This year is not that way. We came in current. We got current through December. Sold lots where our marketing rate was good, both exports and domestic. And then I also got to wonder, too, here in the last 2-3 weeks, if weather's not playing we've had some really nasty cold weather in in lots of areas, but certainly in cattle feeding areas in Western Canada, and just how much that's playing into weights, maybe even more so as we go forward.
And so the theory there is, it's been so cold. Cattle have had a hard time. They've used some of that energy to to keep themselves heated.
Exactly.
Haven't put the final pounds on that we would see at the back end of the feeding period.
Correct. That's exactly what I mean in terms of that gain as we get into these super cold temperatures for this length of period of time. So again, time will tell. We'll watch that data, but right now, that bottom line in terms of that 42 pounds less than last year, that's producing less beef every week versus what we were doing last year. So a little bit on the friendly side in terms of that overall production piece, just looking at tonnages.
What about packer slaughter rates, Canada and the U.S. here as of late?
Well, they're losing money, Sean, right? So that's going to be their first line of defense. When a packer's losing money, he's going to pull back on kill and try to support that cutout, try to force the cutout a little higher to improve his margin. It helped until this week. But then the other piece is just, as we go forward, they're going to be trying to match what's going on in the cash market to what they're doing on the P&L side. So packers have been in the red, and that's what they do when they lose money. They cut kills.
Let's talk about imports and exports. We got beef, but let's start with feeder cattle though. Feeder cattle exports.
Yeah. a lot of year-end data came in here since we've talked last time. So just want to update everybody. We did get the entire 2024 feeder cattle imports. So this is cattle coming from the U.S. into Canada to be fed. And it ended up being up 25% from 2023 at 359,000 head. So the second biggest ever. On a net trade, so we do export feeder cattle as well, but on a net basis, we hit 255,000 head in 24, and that will be the biggest net import year ever for Canadian feeder cattle. Wow. Feeder cattle imports. So pretty important, in terms of, obviously that was a key piece of Canadian cattle feeders filling pen space. We've talked about, we'll get our Canadian cattle inventory report out probably by the next time we talk. But the smaller cow herd, smaller calf crop, how do you fill these pens? Well, that's what Western Canadian feedlots have been doing. They've been importing feeder cattle to fill those pens. On the beef side, so let's move over to beef. We might have mentioned this. So for the year, we were down 2%, which is better than I think we thought we would be. On the import side for 2024, we were up 13%. That's the biggest import year since 2013. We kind of knew that was going to be happening. We've got these strong cull cow market. Our manufacturing beef market in North America, including Canada, has been very strong, very attractive for Australian and New Zealand imports. That storyline, I think, continues as we head into 25. Already in we've got the January import data, and it's up another 2% in terms of beef imports into Canada. So I think that's the train we're going to be on. I did want to just mention retail beef prices. We just got in the December numbers from StatsCan for beef, pork, and chicken. And interestingly enough, December's retail beef price was actually down 8% from November. If you remember, November, we had a big pop-up. So it backed off a bit in December, while both pork and chicken were up. Pork was up 10% in December and chicken up 7% from November. So these markets, as I've always said, they don't go straight up or straight down. And this was another clear indication where we did gain back a little bit of leverage on the retail side, if you will. So that was kind of the news I had for you today, Sean, in terms of numbers released from StatsCan.
Yeah, one of the interviews that we played on Monday's episode of Real Ag Radio was the discussion that Lindsay had with Matt Makins from Makins Weather. And I would say for a lot of people in the for sure the ranching industry, there's major concern about some of the dryness predictions that Matt. I love Matt. I didn't like what he said.
No, Matt does, in my opinion, Matt does a very good job on the weather in terms of his work for the cattle organizations on both sides of the border. And I did hear his presentation. I guess that was last Thursday in San Antonio, and I heard what Lindsay heard as well in terms of some of the forecasts in this La Nina year that we're in. And again, as we saw last year, it's all about timing and location and all the rest of it. But overall conditions, pointing towards that dry bias, and for some parts certainly warm again. So hot and dry, yeah.
Well, Ann, really do appreciate you joining us here today for the Beef Market Update. Have yourself a great weekend as many people try to shovel their way out of whatever they've been dealing with. Eastern Canada just getting pumped with snow, as well as parts of the Northeast. So,
can I close with this?
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day?
Well, yes. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Okay, land on a good note.
Love it.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Beef Market Update, brought to you by Brett Young. Check out their silage and grazing corn stock blends, or custom build your own mix for a happy, healthy herd. Talk to your retailer, visit brettyoung.ca today.